a YouTube channel that we call our superheroes. So we'll make sure to share that with you. And then if you have a question, please feel free to use the chat, raise your hand. If you'd like to come off mute, we can certainly do that for you. And then we value your feedback. If you leverage that Platt Snack survey link, let us know how we can help you. We do have people standing by for a deeper dive to help your organization move forward in your transformation, to learn a little bit more about Power BI, and also let us know what future topics you'd like to hear more about in these snackable sessions, as we've been doing these for about 1.5 years now, where we brought in third-party applications like ServiceNow and Poly and Workday. And more recently, we've been kind of showcasing some of the cool new Microsoft applications, as mentioned, Microsoft approvals. And now today we're going to be talking about Power BI. Just to kind of give a little bit of the lay of the land, wanted to mention, what is collaborative applications or teams as a platform? Perhaps you've heard, but we frequently hear from customers that you need help enabling hybrid work scenarios, or managing your applications, promoting collaboration across geographies and time zones, optimizing processes, and just staying connected with your dispersed workforce that's all across the globe. And you want to create that culture of engagement and connection. So we can think about collaborative apps, and Microsoft Teams can help solve lots of those challenges. Teams is the only platform that brings the power of collaborative apps into your everyday activities to help you easily work with others to complete projects at any time of the day, from anywhere, without the disruption of switching across multiple applications and different windows and browsers, and just really allows you to stay in the flow of your work. So with that, welcome, Ryan. Great timing. Thanks for hopping on. I'm going to transition it right over to you, Ryan, to give a little bit of an intro into Power BI and Teams.
Sure. Yeah, and we'll get to a demo here really quickly. But what we're going to showcase today is a little bit about bringing together data and insights into the place where you collaborate. So Power BI has done a fantastic job of creating a tool for folks to build and drive data insights across an organization. And as part of that, building a data culture is where we've seen a lot of customers want to move in order to make that successful. So having everyone in the company be able to have access to insights to inform all decisions and do it at scale across the organization. So with everyone being more distributed than ever in their work styles and hybrid working, fostering a data culture where every discussion can start with, well, what does the data say, or how can the data help inform our decision to help us make better judgments on this, and have that data be available in the moment when those decisions are being discussed, or that context, and not having to switch contexts or not know where the data is easily accessible. So that's what we're really trying to get towards, and with this integration between Power BI and Teams.
And Ryan, because we're using PowerPoint Live, why don't you go ahead and take over as presenter, and you can drive.
Got it. Okay. Yep. Just got a couple slides, and then we'll switch over. So it's should be taking control. There we go. And so we think about this, asking better questions and helping you take better actions, thinking about, what should we do next? What action is most likely to achieve our objectives? Well, having the data to support that helps you define, what does the data tell us? Where can we go with it? And then if we do make certain decisions, keeping track of the data to know, is it impacting or influencing our results the way we think it should? And if not, let's iterate. What things should we stop doing, and how does that impact the data? And are we focusing on the most important things and helping prioritize? Given just the limited time and bandwidth, data and insights can certainly help make sure you're focused on what's going to be most impactful to drive the metrics that your company is interested in. And so we do this by bringing together the power of Teams and Power BI, bringing that data to where you work. One of the things in the early versions of Power BI and Teams that customers ran with, they found that new users were 1.8 times more engaged and leveraging the data in Power BI when it was accessible within Teams. So if you think about the value or the emphasis you put into building dashboards and reports, when they're incorporated into Teams, they're getting more value. Users are leveraging them more to make decisions. So So we've seen the data show us that it's powerful, and we wanted to make sure to drive awareness of here. So, and we'll show this through the demo, but the data can surface from Power BI into Teams in a number of different ways through tabs, through channels, through adaptive cards, through messaging, notifications. And so I'll let Chris walk through and show you how that actually looks here. So let's, I'll stop presenting here, and Chris, you want to take over and we can actually walk through the demonstration.
I do. Thank you so much, Ryan. And please
Sure.
let me know when you can see my screen. Are you able to see my desktop there?
You're up and running.
Fabulous. And I can't, Ryan, I can't emphasize that point enough. Actually looking at the data, because if you don't look at the report, it doesn't matter if you got a good deal on the software. It doesn't matter if, the report was well written if nobody looks at it. So here we are. I'm messaging, right? And everybody knows what the screen looks like. This is a Teams chat I'm having with the gentleman Isaiah, and this is the existing Power BI share experience. So, Isaiah and I are chatting, and it's like, gosh, what do the numbers say? Well, let's look at the report. And today, the way I do that is, I send one of these, god awful URLs. And the way I do it is I leave Teams, right? It's like, where am I? What were we talking about? I don't know. I left Teams, and now I got to find the report. And, Power BI has a search function. So, I mean, it's not, torture, but like, okay, so here I found the report, and now it's time to share, right? So we're going back to Teams, and I click on chat with Teams. And I mean, I know I'm kind of hitting this hard, right? I mean, we were proud when we shipped this feature because it's, kind of convenient. You get a URL right to the report. But I mean, over here on the team side, it's like, is this safe? What is this, right? So leaving Teams, bad idea. Context switching, right? So when you install Power BI app for Teams, everything changes, right? And you can tell I've got Power BI app for Teams installed because it's here on the left-hand rail. And I'm going to show you first how Teams changes, and then I'm going to show you what the app itself can do for you. But the first big thing here is instead of sending these gargantuan URLs, I'm going to send these adaptive cards, and that's super easy. So down here in the chat session, like Isaiah, let's actually look at the numbers before we commit to that. Okay. I wouldn't really say okay, but let's look at the numbers. And here is the Power BI. Here's a piece of the Power BI app for Teams. And I click here, and there it is. All my recents are right here in the scrollable list, right? We were just looking at this report. So this is the recent. So I could just come in here, or I could search for one. Maybe I want to search for, I don't know, the last scorecard I was working on. And I just click, and there's the adaptive card, right? So when Isaiah receives this, he or she, they know exactly what they're getting, right? Where it comes from. If they want to subscribe, so they're in the loop, they can, continue to see it. Otherwise, they just hit the open button, and their version. Oops, I got to send that first. And their version of Power BI app for Teams opens the report, right? And I haven't left anything, right? So I'm in here. We're talking, we're looking at the numbers, well, these numbers look pretty good actually. So now I'm back in the chat, right? I didn't leave the window. I didn't switch context. The recipient knows exactly what's happening. So that's the first thing we do with Power BI app for Teams in Teams is we have this adaptive card sender. But, what if I didn't know which report had the numbers, right? Well, does that mean I have to leave Teams and start crawling through all these different reports? Well, no, because Power BI is integrated in Teams search. So here I'm going to type, I'm in the search bar now, right? And I go at Power, and this opens the Power BI specific search. And here's the recents. And was it this report? So now when I click here, I don't leave Teams, right? I can take a look at this from within Teams. Is this the right report? And I'm looking, and no, I think it was the other one. So now, again, without switching context, I can go through a couple different reports, and yeah, this is the one we were talking about. So I'm good. So I can just hit copy from here, or that little icon does the copy, and back to the chat. And I can just drop this in here, or I can drop it into a team, what have you. So by reducing the friction and encouraging, the perusal of your reports, it's so much easier to make Power BI Insight part of the conversation, right? Easy for the sender, easy for the recipient. So the chat widget and the search widget here are super helpful. Power BI is also integrated into the activity feed for Teams when you install the Power BI app. So there are common things happening in the Power BI environment that might pull me out of Teams. This one here is a permission request, right? So someone who doesn't have permissions on this report would like to open it. Maybe Ryan told Lynn here about the report, and it's not Ryan's report to share. That's my report. So here's a request. Well, I didn't have to go into email, and I didn't have to go into Power BI. It's just right here, approve, decline. And another thing that can happen is people share reports with me. And, if they share the report with me in Teams, I'm just going to, click on the adaptive card and I'm going to see it. But this particular activity, Isaiah actually shared this report via email. They weren't logged into Teams. They weren't using Teams. They didn't have the Teams add-in installed, whatever it was. They just went into Power BI and hit the plain old share button right there, which sends an email. But now that I have the add-in installed, it becomes part of the activity feed, just like all the other chats and app mentions here. And it even opens the report, right? So now, I'm not breaking context with anything. Oh, he shared this report with me. Do I care? Was I waiting for this? I can immediately take the next logical action that needs to be taken based on me looking at the report. So having the activity feed also surface Power BI activity in addition to the other team's activity is super convenient in terms of keeping me focused, helping me prioritize. Maybe I'm not going to take a look at this right now. So those are the big ones. And the last way Teams changes when the Power BI app is installed is we have more of these, we have more availability for these tabs, right? So today in Teams, you can add a new tab and you can add a Power BI report. And frankly, you are able to do this prior to the Power BI app for Teams. So I could just come in here, and I've already pinned a report or two in here. But what's really nice now is we've added it to meetings. So here, one of the ways to make a meeting really productive is to have an agenda, right? Another way to make a meeting really productive is to make sure that all of the materials the attendees and participants need are actually available. And that's exactly what Teams does. And now that includes Power BI reports. So here in this meeting, I can see the meeting details, right? I can see the scheduling assistant. So, maybe some of my attendees can't attend, and I can understand why. And here's the files in the chat. And I'm sure, everyone is familiar with this from using Teams. But now I can also attach the reports that are going to be discussed in the meeting to the meeting. So again, all of the materials, including, oh yeah, we need to look at the data. This is how a data culture works. This is how, we have data-driven decisions instead of, innuendo or supposition-based decisions. So it's all right there. So these are the ways Teams changes its behavior. I would also like to talk about what the Power BI app itself can do for you. And it certainly looks a lot like powerbi.com. So if you've ever logged into powerbi.com, you will see something similar, but there's a couple of key changes in here. And the first one is this little, so down here where I've got my recents and my favorites, I'll use green because of the day. This in Teams button will show me all of the reports that are in tabs in team channels. So just as we were looking at these reports when we were in the meeting tab, or when we were in the channel tab, these are all rolled up across here, all of my teams that I'm a member of, so I can get to all of these Power BI reports in one place here. The second thing we have, which encourages good Power BI usage and behavior, is in the Create section. There is a report exclusively available to people who have the Power BI app for Teams installed, and that is the Analyze Your Teams Data Report. So anybody who installs this is going to get this button. This is not available in the regular powerbi.com site. But what this does is it has a nice Power BI report that shows my recent utilization, as well as the utilization of the teams that I belong to. And this is a demo account, so it's not super exciting. But if we sneak a quick look at my production account, so first off, you can see that I work on weekends, and shoot, I actually didn't work that much that last week. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea. But no, seriously, I can see how many meetings I'm participating in over, various time periods, right? All the way up to a quarter's worth of historical data in terms of, video sharing, screen sharing, audio, and also important, I can get metrics about the teams that I'm on. So, most active team, least active team without, days without active users. This one's pretty much dead. And then I can see details about the engagement inside of any particular team I'm a member of. So this report is a nice incentive to encourage people to use the Power BI app inside of Teams. Another thing, and I'll just show this last feature because it's also available outside of Power BI app for Teams, but it's part of making people comfortable using Power BI, right? So I've spent the first 15 minutes talking about, how important it is for us to consult Power BI reports when we make decisions, when we have meetings, when we have questions. We want to make it easy to consult Power BI reports. This has to do with the ease of creating them. And so here, I'm just going to take an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm going to copy the data out of the Excel spreadsheet. And I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to use a feature called Quick Create. So right here in Teams, if I want to maybe understand this data a little bit better, I'll just copy paste. I am going to do one transformation here. You can see that the first row is actually text. It's not values, and this happens a lot for Excel users. So I'm just going to hit this button, use the first row as headers, and now I'm going to create my first Teams report. That's not bad. Right, that's not bad at all. So here, I've got, things broken down by category and count and sum, and down here in the bottom, Microsoft AI has written a textual description, and the text will update as I interact with the report. And if I want to show the underlying data, I can hit a button and people can, see the data, or not. And I could, tweak it a little bit. But the point here is in terms of, making Power BI less big and scary, right? Encouraging that first report. And that's what the Learn tab is doing as well, right? So it's not just about consuming Power BI content, but, maybe this can encourage people to become part of the conversation. So these are the capabilities of the Power BI app itself once it's installed in Teams, in addition to the way Teams is changed by the installation of Power BI app for Teams. In terms of what it takes, it's actually pretty simple. We're talking about 3 dialog boxes for the Teams administrator and 2 dialog boxes for the Power BI administrator. This blog post goes through all of it in exhaustive detail, as well as tips for encouraging and nurturing the community. But just in summary, I can show you the changes here. For the Power BI administrator, they have 2 decisions to make. Do I even want this to work? So the Power BI administrator has, and I'll use red for this, they've got a big red on-off switch. So yes, I want Power BI information inside of Microsoft Teams, or no, I don't. So they got the big kill switch, or maybe they do like a phased rollout here. So that's the first button. The second one is, do I want to automatically install the Power BI app for Microsoft Teams? And that is a decision that the Power BI administrator can talk about, but really the Teams administrator, in the Teams admin portal gets a say. So let's look at what the Teams administrator can do here. The Teams administrator is responsible for all the apps running inside of the Teams environment, right? So, in my environment, you can see I've got over 1,000 apps that are allowed, and really there's no reason not to allow Power BI to be installable. I mean, it was written by Microsoft, it went through a security audit. There's nothing wrong with allowing people to install it. It's just the problem there is if a user wants it, they got to go, smash their keyboard and go find the Power BI app and install it, right? So the next level of engagement would be for the Teams administrator to have a Teams app setup policy that pre-installs Power BI. And you can see that's what I've done here. Power BI is not just allowed as an app, it's installed. And so what that means is when the user is thinking about, how can I improve my productivity inside of Teams? What do we have? And so right next to approvals and these other things, I can have Power BI app here. So they don't have to go looking for it. It's literally one mouse click away. And then for the most convenience and encouragement, you could actually add it as a pinned app, and that's what I've done here. So Power BI is one of the apps that are pinned in the left-hand rail, and what that means is every user will see Power BI app for Teams in the list of available capabilities in the Teams fabric or rail area. Sorry, Ryan, I don't know the exact term there. So again, this one.
And the last point I'd make there is that you can pin by targeted group of users. So if you didn't want to pin it to everybody in the entire organization, but you said, hey, I've got a group of 100 folks who want to pin it, you could do that as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's been a while since I've been a Teams admin. But yeah, I could add a specific policy to sort of control or phase in the rollout. And Ryan, I guess I don't need to drain the blog post here. We can leave people with that, but it'll walk you through everything. It's even got scripts to help you identify, who these users are, and here it's showing you the steps that we just went through. So with that, let me stop sharing.
Very good. Thank you, Chris. That was great.
Thanks.
I'll bring the slides back up so we can bring us home here. As we look in determining where do we go from here, so maybe just a couple of quick things as I get the slide up here appropriately. In the chat window, I'm going to go ahead and add a link to the survey. A couple of things to note on the survey is if you're looking for a deeper dive on Power BI, if you're looking for training, we've got free complimentary resources to help you with that. If you need help justifying or deploying the Power BI app for your environment, we can help with that as well. Bring your technical folks, bring your data folks. Let's go along for the journey together. We're also going to make this recording available. So the third bullet down, I'll send a follow-up link as a thank you. I'll share the Power BI stackable recording as well. You can share that with peers. That'll be up on our YouTube channel. There's an enablement guide on number 2 that will show you clearly how to install the Power BI app in Teams. And then, Ryan, there's a new program that we're offering called the Customer Hub for Power BI. Do you want to give a quick mention of what that's all about and how customers can get involved with that?
Yes, we just kicked off a 4-week program led by the Power BI team at Microsoft, and it's going to be 4 weeks. They're going to host calls each week, and they'll invite you to a team where where all guests can be included and ask questions and learn from each other. So it'll focus on various Power BI enablement capabilities, specifically around this, and the integration will be a core theme throughout those.
Awesome. And if you're interested in learning more about that, you can connect with Ryan or I, or with your Microsoft account team, and we can get you submitted for that. So with that, if there are any questions, feel free to, again, to throw them in chat. If you want to raise your hand, ask your question, feel free, and we can take you off mute. We'll give it just another pause or so. And if there are no questions, we'll go ahead and just end for today, and we'll see you next time. So we'll give it a few more seconds, going once, twice, 3 times, and that's a wrap. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Travis. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Chris.